Unified School District. Kale Zillmer sitting in for Wade Bates today. Glad to be here with you. Appreciate everybody being along. And we are joined for our monthly visit by Mark DeStefano, Superintendent of Beaver Dam Unified School District. Mark, always great to see you. It's been a little bit since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here. Always good to spend time with you. How often is a sub or fill in a level up? I mean, we should really ask Wade that question, right? So we're it's already predicting. I think ratings for today's show are just going to skyrocket.
Yeah, you were saying, you're like, oh, okay, all right, Wade's out. We should actually have some listeners and viewers today. I appreciate the compliment.
Wade does a great job, and so do you. So just really happy to be here and glad we could make it work out.
Absolutely, and it's an exciting time of the school year. You're getting to that point in the school year where we've been in session. We got to be about 2.5 months in or so by my count.
Yeah, full term's worth of work is in, and it's exciting. And this time of year, too, as we start to approach rapidly the holiday season.
Yeah.
The number of activities and things going on just really really ramps up intensely. So
yes,
it's pretty awesome. Yeah,
I've got a couple of kids in the Beaver Dam Unified School District, so I am well aware, and it's that fun time too. It's kind of that neat time too. If you've got kids, you've seen this where they've really kind of started to establish those routines, right? And the teacher, the new staff is also really started to settle in, and so it's kind of that exciting time where you kind of really get to put it into full drive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and that's one of the things that we talk about as a staff and constantly remind ourselves. And one of the differentiators between school districts that do a good job, and most school districts do, and school districts that maybe start to take that next step, is making the most of these times. As people look at and they think of like, well, there's a break for Thanksgiving, and then we've got Christmas and other holidays and things that tend to break up those months. But students are really dialed in. They've really established those routines. They know what's expected. Those relationships have been established with staff. So it's really a great time as we get into kind of this approaching rapidly the winter season, although we still are in fall. But we get into a great time to really make some great growth with our students and really see them really experience their potential.
And I know I appreciate you being here, because I know as excited as you've been to see me and get to hang out with me, I know what you were really hoping to maybe be doing this week was hanging out down at Camp Randall.
Oh, that would have been pretty awesome.
But I mean, what a great season by the Beaver Dam football team.
Yeah, no, they really did have a great season, and they overcame a lot of adversity, some unique challenges and injuries, and it's just so nice to have the kids and the families and the coaching staff so all into the community. I think they really see themselves as a key fabric of our community, and really it's a neat sport in that you get a lot of community members come out to rally around and enjoy the festivities and watch a game. So there's kind of that natural connection to that. But just a real quick example of something I was really proud of was when they made the playoffs. Obviously that's always a good thing, and they got the notification they'd be playing River Falls. And that's not a short drive.
Not exactly.
It's a separate conversation, and there's added cost and logistics aside. They didn't complain about that at all. They saw that it was really neat to see the mindset, and that starts with the leadership on the team and other things. But they saw what a great opportunity. We get a little extended travel, unique experience. Hey, let's stop at a university on the way up, have the kids get some tour in, maybe see the facilities, maybe practice on some of the facilities. So they kind of made the day of it. The parents were super supportive, brought food. So just a really great example of having the right mindset, approaching a situation that they certainly could have groveled about. So really, really proud of them, and proud of all of our fall sports teams for the work that they put in, and optimistic. And at some point in time, I fully expect to be hanging out at Camp Randall. I've been there before, part of some other systems, and we're doing the right things to get there. Happy for the schools in our community that are being there. I mean, obviously this is Let's Talk for the Beaver Dam Unified School District, but just a collegial neighbor shout out to Mayville.
Yeah.
Obviously I know their leadership over there very well. I've known them for a number of years, but just for the community, they, along with some other communities this summer, navigated some significant challenges when the tornadoes came through,
Yeah.
and I know their football team was big in helping with the community,
Yeah.
do some cleanup, and
Saw them out there doing some cleanup.
yeah,
Yep.
and now they get to represent their community there. So we wish our Dodge County neighbors the best. It's pretty awesome.
And that's okay, because even if you guys, even if Beaver Dam were playing at state, different divisions, so you wouldn't have
Yeah.
to face them, wouldn't have to
Yeah,
be
we don't
rivals.
compete
So
with them, so,
all good. Yeah, exactly. Again, we're talking with Mark DiStefano, superintendent here at Beaver Dam Unified School District, and I know there's always so much going on. As you mentioned, we're coming up on those holidays. What else is going on at Beaver Dam Unified School District that we want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean it's been an awesome fall. Most recently, we wrapped up the fall musical Brigadoon, and what a phenomenal job.
I heard so many great reviews from that show.
Yeah, I was really happy that sometimes just with schedules, I was around that weekend, so it was really great to be able to be a part of that. And see that and see the talent that our kids have. And I think people know that, and at least the people that are intimately familiar, but we always love to see community members that maybe don't have those direct connections get out and see those shows and be wowed by the talent of the kids. And the neat thing about a musical, and I love plays too, but with the musical, you get that like extra tier of involvement because of the musical performance groups that are such a key part of that. And you get, that much more investment too, I think, from families. But they did a wonderful job. Our community turned out, kind of a neat story, just with, some of the familiarity and connectedness that Mark Lefebvre, the lead director, had with Scotland, because his own sister had done some student teaching, I believe, there. So he had some familiarity. And to see Mark, I mean, Mark's not a little guy. He's tall. I don't know what his actual height is.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He would probably start as a left tackle.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And to see him in full garb, in the kilt that he had, and all the fixings. I don't know what all the fixings really, is or means, but I mean, he was just one heck of a Scottish presence, and I don't think he's Scottish, but just seeing him walk around, it was pretty awesome.
Well, I was gonna say, he was on. We had him on Hometown Today ahead of the show, and he was telling us how he was gonna be breaking out the kilt, and the kilt actually has there's a word for it that I can never remember.
Yeah, that's the fixing. That's what I call it.
Yeah, it's the design of the plaid on the kilt. Like the specific design is specific to different families, and he found his families and got a kilt with his family's like design on it. But I was curious. I was going to ask, did Mark DiStefano break out his kilt for Brigadoon?
I didn't. I didn't, and I'm a Highlander, so technically,
wow.
not by school. So that's just where I went to school. Our mascot was the Highlanders. So, I had talked about breaking it out, but there wasn't a cry for it. People weren't asking, so I didn't want to take away from Lefebvre's kilt. But no, just a phenomenal show. So really appreciative of the community that came out, and now we jump into all these other wonderful things as different activities, kick off. I think tonight, for example, I think you guys covered this a little bit.
Yep.
But tonight, green and gold scrimmage. That's a long-standing tradition. So we've got the green and gold scrimmage going on tonight, which is also coupled with Dodge County toy drive.
Yeah.
So we partner with that, so folks can bring toys or a monetary donation to get in. So that's always wonderful. And just, I don't want to dive into this too much, but just reminding folks that as part of a standard of being a student involved in activities and athletics, because that's really a privilege, right? Our core work is done during the day from bell to bell in the classroom.
Yep.
Everything else is really a privilege. So there's different standards and expectations we have. And one of them is that they give back to the community because it is a privilege, and they embrace that. They love it. I mean, kids love to volunteer and give back, and that's just part of them developing as citizens. But really neat that they all do that, and that's what the boys basketball team's doing this season. That toy drive. And they'll do some other things as well. We've got also kicking off tonight. There's a scrimmage at the Family Center. We've got a few hockey teams in town for that. Always exciting. Love hockey season. Love the hot cocoa at the Family Center. I don't think it's anything special, but I do think that they'll pour it rich, if you know what I mean. So that's like that. And then a huge girls basketball tournament this weekend.
Yeah.
Huge. So 16 teams. bringing 16 teams and all their families, use that field house, which is really exciting. And, between the field house and the auditorium last year, we had over 40,000 guests through.
Wow.
And those are the ones we can kind of track.
Yeah. You can't quite count every head, but
Yep, but pretty awesome. I mean, you look at the auditorium seats, 600, and we had 4 different shows of that. Now you take a 16-team basketball tournament. PH was just in our field house using that, so really good. Always good for the local economy.
Yeah.
Bringing in more people. We always like it when people not in our community spend money in our community. That's always fun.
It's always a plus. That's always a plus. And then you got another big tournament coming up the next weekend with Slam at the Dam.
Slam at the Dam. You guys are a big part of that. So yeah, and great teams coming too. So yeah, it's just a lot going on. And then we'll blink, and I think the FFA here in the winter. They will host the Pasta with a Purpose night, and then we get all of our different groups and service clubs that'll be part of that, which is pretty awesome. Folks can come in, and obviously all those proceeds go to charity as well. So, yeah, a lot going on. A concert season.
Yeah, concert season,
and folks can be reminded they can go to our our activities page. We've got an activities calendar and see those things. But concert season between high school, different performing groups there. Middle school, elementary. Actually, the middle school just had a couple of concerts, but it's just there's always stuff going on. It's awesome.
And to your point too, you talked earlier about seeing, just community members in general coming out to these events and sport. And I'll tell you, as somebody who's got kids in the district, it tickles these kids pink to see their community member. When it's not your kid or your grandkid, and you just come out, like those kids love it. They feel so supported, which is so important, is to have that community support, not just within that little building of the school.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think for folks that maybe don't come out to these things on a regular basis, and certainly everybody's got their own schedule and interest, but one of the other neat things just to be reminded of this, especially in the winters in Wisconsin. There's a lot going on in our schools. You're a key contributor to the resources those kids get to access. You want to see what they're doing, right? There's an opportunity to do that. And it's a really neat way to connect in person with other community members and conversations. I mean, before one of the Brigadoon shows this weekend, I mean, just for me, getting a chance to talk to, 5 or 6 people before the event that I would have never typically had the opportunity to talk with, right? And people get to do that with neighbors or people that they don't know, meeting other people, talking about different things, asking questions of staff. So really a great experience, and encourage people to come out and, celebrate the community, support the kids, and get some really cheap entertainment. And remember, for our senior citizens, if you don't have your senior citizen pass, because we want you coming, and we're not charging you to come to really anything unless it's a WIA event. They make us charge for that, but for the playoffs. But any of these events, you can get your senior citizen pass. You can get that at the Watermark. You can get that at the ESC, and we want to take care of you because you guys have been taking care of us for a while. So,
and I know we've got a number of other topics to chat about. We were just talking about athletics. I would be remiss not to mention a lot of comments out there in the community going, wow, what semi-professional college level softball teams coming into play in Beaver Dam. That new area looks amazing.
Yeah, that whole area is really turning out very nicely. Obviously, the spring with a little bit of spring green up will help, but we're really excited to finally have 2 softball fields on our campus for our female student athletes to be able to use. We moved that JV field to accommodate some safety and pathway challenges that we had, because it really is a small campus. So just really the way that those have laid out, with the access from McKinley, the access to bathrooms now for everybody to be able to get to, including like tennis, some of the safety improvements we've done for track and field in the throws area, the new pathway that's alongside Burnett, and the connectivity from some additional parking. So it's really turning out very, very well, and it's just some nice synergy that came together with the fact that we had been saving for years for that softball field work. And actually, a number of years ago, we did some of the initial grading for kind of where it was going to be. And to be able to now say, okay, because we had the money outside of the referendum to pay for the field itself, and now to put all the amenities and kind of complete that campus and do the field at the same time made the most sense. So we were able to knock that off. So really excited about that, what that means for the kids and what that means for the community. And we'll really be working hard to make sure that that space is used and enjoyed by many. I can't wait for the girls to be able to use that, because they deserve to have quality spaces as well.
Absolutely. Talking with Mark DiStefano, superintendent at Beaver Dam Unified School District, here on Let's Talk. And I know, as far as things going on too, one of the things happening this week, and you had talked earlier about our student bodies giving back. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation recently around food insecurity and making sure our neighbors eat. And I know, as a district, you guys are always dealing with that, making sure your students are fed, because that's the only way you learn, is you got to have a full belly. And now the student body in the district is looking to help out in Beaver Dam with that need.
Yeah, it's an awesome tradition that we have. I know a number of places will do different things, as they should this time of year, right? And throughout the year, but there seems to be a lot of really positive energy around doing it this time of year as we get into the colder months and the holiday season. And between some of our student services staff, who we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, and groups like Key Club, they're a key leader in kind of organizing this. We've got a district-wide food drive, and people can bring in items. And if you don't want to bring it to the district, there's other places people know in the community to bring things to, which is great. But we always bring in several tons of food to help contribute to addressing food insecurity and challenges that people have in accessing resources. And it's just an awesome event. And what we really love about it is how involved our kids get. I mean, all the staff participate too. There's usually, at the sites, there's some kind of staff student challenge and all those types of things going on, and grade level to grade level challenges. And everybody really shows out, to give back. And again, part of that, like, citizenship and being like civic minded and realizing that we're all in this together, and takes different people, different viewpoints, but it's all about taking care of each other in the end. And it's always pretty powerful. But one of the things I wanted to mention with that that I don't think people realize is our Key Club is an absolutely amazing service club. And I'm a longtime Kiwanian, and a shout out to Lions and Rotarians and anybody who's taken time to be part of service clubs. It's phenomenal, and everybody should do it. But Kiwanis has basically a high school level organization is called Key Club. Middle school level, they call it Builders Club. Yep. Different things like that. K Kids is at the elementary.
Yep.
And we have all of those different levels of engagement. But our high school Key Club is a powerhouse. It is a powerhouse service club. There are over, I believe, 63 members of that club. They're actively engaged. We have, I believe, currently, and just heard from their leadership team. They just presented at a local Key Club or Kiwanis meeting, reported out. But they have 4 state level officers that represent both Wisconsin and Upper Michigan. 4 of the officers that represent the Wisconsin Upper Michigan region are members of the Beaver Dam Key Club.
Wow.
Just super talent rich, awesome kids, great mindset. Basically the leader, the state level leader, again, and when they say state level, they bunch Wisconsin and Upper Michigan together, is one of our students. So he's in charge of the whole shtick, and that's Carter Kinsey, who's just a wonderful young man. So really proud of all the kids that are part of that. Great leaders, great kids up and down, and they're key cog in the wheel of this food drive effort. So we're very, very fortunate, and our community should be proud of what our kids are doing and where their mindsets are at.
Yeah,
You know?
there are really some phenomenal student service clubs at Beaver Dam. We got to, I've been in Beaver Dam my whole life, so I'm very familiar with most of their. So was somewhat familiar with most of them, knew of their existence. And last year we got to team up with a number of them for the Pasta with the Purpose event, and they paired us up with the Children's Radiothon, and so got to really go in there and learn more about some of those clubs, and more importantly, got to meet the students involved, and they just blew me away.
Yeah.
Absolutely blew me away what these students are doing. They're so into wanting to just do good and improve the community. So that's really, really impressive. Any other updates, celebrations, anything before we jump into talking about our school of the month?
I mean, we could ramble for a long time. I want to make sure just to remind folks too. We do have winter walking going on Wednesdays. So from 6:30 to 8:30 at the high school. So come on in, use the field house, walk around. It's a 200-meter track. It's also a low impact track, so really healthy on your joints. If you haven't walked it, you should, because it's really healthy to do that. But Wednesdays 6:30 to 8:30, and that's all winter long. Obviously, if there's I don't think we have it going on Christmas Eve or a couple other nights, but really want people to come in and enjoy that. And we are looking to expand that a little bit more as well. But just don't forget, there's an opportunity to come on in, see some staff, other friends, bring some neighbors, and just get some exercise. Use the facilities that you're paying for, so you should use them.
This is Let's Talk with Beaver Dam Unified School District. This is a paid presentation, the paid presentation of Beaver Dam Unified School District. The views and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of Good Comer Brands, its management, or its employees. We're talking with Mark DeStefano, superintendent at Beaver Dam Unified School District. And let's jump into the school of the month. And this month's school is Prairie View Elementary.
Yeah. Prairie View Elementary. So for folks that aren't familiar, Prairie View's located on the corner of E and Crystal Lake Road. So that would be considered the southwest corner of that intersection. Prairie View Elementary's campus is very traditional elementary campus in many respects, but then it also does house currently the soccer fields that are used by the high school too, which can create some unique opportunities from a traffic flow standpoint at times. But Prairie View serves a little over 350 students, so we have early EC 4K programming all the way up through 5th grade. And it's a 3-section elementary school. So again, that means that there's 3 basically teachers and classes for each grade level. So 3 kindergartens, 3 first grades, 3 second grades when we say 3 sections. And Prairie View is another one of all of our elementary schools are doing great things every day. And Prairie View just happens to be, through a lot of work and deliberate effort, just knocking it out of the park. And they've been doing that really for the last 3 or 4 years. And that's a testament to testament to the staff, to the leadership, to the kids, and to the families. And families are a key part of that effort. But Prairie View Elementary is literally, and this isn't just like a random pull, literally one of the highest ranking elementary schools in the state of Wisconsin. So
Wow.
if you look up elementary schools, and there are thousands of them, in that top 3%, you're going to see a number of elementary schools listed, and you're going to look at very, very affluent parts of the state. You're going to see a slew of names. You're going to see a bunch of elementary schools in Brookfield. You're going to see 2 elementary schools in Cedarburg.
Yep.
Right, and you're going to see Whitefish Bay. Shout out to Charlie. But you're very, very affluent areas, and then in and amongst that, with the Brookfields, the Elmbrooks, the New Berlins, you're going to see Prairie View Elementary, Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, and they're working hard. They're doing great work, and all of our elementary schools are. But right now, they've got the right recipe, the right mindset, and they're staying on that. And all of our elementary schools have received accolades. So again, Prairie View is a school of the month, so we're bragging on them a little bit, but really, really proud of them. And they're now one of 2, with a little bit of pressure, and I don't want to call it competition, but raises all ships, the high tide. So Washington Elementary also jumped into that highest performing category in the state too. So they're now, I believe, top 6 or 7%. So you've got two of the highest performing elementaries in the state of Wisconsin, in Beaver Dam, and our other elementaries are doing great work and taking great steps. Really proud of the step Lincoln took, and Jefferson's moving the needle in the right direction. So, and we're not perfect. We've got plenty of work to do, but a lot to brag on. So, great work over at Prairie View. Prairie View just got their new playground. That was part of the community's generous contribution.
I know the kids are really excited about the new playground over
Yeah.
there.
So, it's interesting. When you do things, you have to do something first. You have to do something last. That doesn't necessarily reflect priority. Sometimes when it comes to projects, that reflects just like logistics and other things going on. So we did Prairie View and Jefferson's playgrounds, but Prairie View's playground upgrade's been phenomenal. The accessibility of that equipment. There are people playing and using that all the time.
Yeah.
All weekend long. I know the community there in the neighborhood really, really appreciates that, and love to see families and strollers and bikes and things all around that space being used. Prairie View is also going to get, right now it's slated for some work this summer, again, as part of that referendum project, improving the layout, safety and access of the parking lot, the drive, connectivity to the community. So we're hoping to knock that out this summer. There's some work that has to happen with that. I'm hoping that the timelines line up and we can do that in the summer of 26. If not, it'll be the summer of 27. But we're planning for the summer of 26. So we'll see some sidewalk access happen from the subdivision that's immediately adjacent. There's no full sidewalk access that originally had been, I guess, part of the plan in 1996 when that building was built. But for some reason, it just kind of didn't get punched out. So to be able to do that will be helpful to allow kids to walk from that neighborhood to the site. And we'll be addressing some of the parking and traffic flow challenges that people who've been there around drop off, pick up in particular, and definitely pick up when there's other events going on, know that can become extremely congested and a little frustrating. So at the end of the day, we want that to be less frustrating, less congested, and as safe as possible. Really looking forward to that. Also of note for Prairie View's got some new leadership there this year.
Great.
So Caitlin Dwyer, who has been an associate principal there, had been working with Brandon Krause. She is now the principal at Prairie View Elementary, doing an outstanding job. She's been doing great work for years. Brandon eagerly moved to the middle school, is really excited to help take that ship to the next level. And so Caitlin moved into the principalship. And then we brought in Amy D'Arcangelo. She is the associate principal there now, so we hired her. She's got a great track record, wonderful experience, and the two of them are now serving in the leadership capacities and serving that staff and those kids in the community. So really excited about what's going on there. And their challenge moving forward is they're performing about as hot as you can be. They were in the 90 some percent on their report card last year, and you kind of teeter. There's some things you can't completely control. You can control a lot of things on the report card, but they were kind of teetering on that. Boy, it's going to be hard to keep moving up. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yep.
Where they were at, and they took another step this year, which is pretty impressive. So now it's about how do you continue to sustain that level of excellence, and they're committed to doing that. And it becomes a mindset, and that can be contagious in a good way. So really feel great about the work that they're doing, the standards that they have, the bar that they're setting. And look forward to them continue to do that in the future.
Leave it to an educator to teach me something while he's here today. I think that might be the first time I've ever heard somebody use the word principalship.
Oh, yeah.
I've never
give
heard
you a
that term
book.
before, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking with Mark DiStefano, with superintendent with Beaver Dam Unified School District, and I know one of the things we want to talk about today is student services. And I know it's a very overarching term, and you hear it, but you're like, what does that really mean?
Yep.
So we want to talk a little bit about what does that mean? What does that entail?
Yeah. Yeah. So student services. So we have it's basically a division of what we're doing and what we're providing in maybe a little bit more of a specialized area, perhaps. For students, but I'll talk a little bit about kind of what that team looks like, and that'll help people better understand it. So we have a director that oversees our student services for the school district. So that encompasses everything from what you might have thought of traditionally, like school counselors or a social worker or school psychologist. That also includes some of our special education staff. We have what's called program support teachers, which are specialized educators that help really support and elevate the special education programming and other support services, perhaps associated with 504s or other things in our schools. That student services team also includes like our nursing staff, our health services staff. So if you think about all the specialized supports and resources that are being provided outside of a traditional classroom teacher, a fourth grade teacher, a science teacher, a math teacher, things like that, it tends to fall under that bucket of student services. And what people don't fully appreciate now is how much our student services and specialized services have evolved over time. And I'm speaking obviously specifically about the Beaver Dam Unified School District, but that evolution of services and increased specialization of supports that has taken place over the last 10 to 15 years is not unique to Beaver Dam.
Sure.
And is more reflective of societal needs and demands that we have as schools. When things aren't going well or there's challenges with children or even in communities, when for whatever reason they can't be solved or dealt with purely through traditional means and the home, a lot of times schools are seen as a key resource because we have students for 7+ hours a day. So one of the other things that happens then is, we're able to help facilitate access to resources for students that might need some additional services, even therapies or otherwise during the school day. And we do that through partnerships and memorandums of understanding. Students are able to access different therapies or resources even during the school day. And we partner with those groups. Folks are probably really familiar with Church Health Services. We partner with them for some AODA counseling, alcohol and other drug abuse counseling for some of our students. Usually that would be secondary age older students that we're dealing with them with some of those supports. We partner with them for other counseling services students have. Some students might have, different anxieties or other challenges, and we're not necessarily experts in that field. That's not how we're wired or funded necessarily, but we are experts in liaising with families and resources. We've been doing that for a long time. That's kind of the essence of what social work is really about, right? Is kind of being that key liaison and resource. So we continue to do that, and you see districts all throughout the state and the country trying to help be better partners, all in partnership with families, et cetera. But that becomes part of their, grand oversight. And it can be a beautiful thing, but it's also very complicated. And I'm not here to start talking about a need for more money. Nobody wants to hear me say that. But the reality is all these new and unique things when you were in school, or definitely when I was in school, because unfortunately I'm a little older than you, I think. Let's not talk about it. But it was very traditional. We had a counselor.
Yep.
In a system. I remember the system that I was in. you know, we might have had one psychologist and maybe a social worker.
Yeah, I grew
And
up in a
then,
small district, so I didn't even have that. We
right.
just had my entire schooling was just one counselor for the school.
And the counselor, and then and parent engagement and realities, you know, tended to look a little bit different at that time as well. You
Yep.
know, the more traditional setting now with so many people, you know, both parents working, other challenges that people navigate, things like that. So the need for some of those supports tends to grow, and it's really been powerful to see how well school districts throughout the state of Wisconsin and the country have adapted and have gotten creative in being able to access, you know, resources, things like that. So that team is really very, very specialized. They do everything from traditional counseling that folks can think of when it comes to like figuring out your schedule, what classes you should take, the careers you might be interested in, to things like coordinating really high leverage resource access for unique needs, to helping families in need, helping connect them with, you know, transportation, dealing with homelessness, you know, all those different things that team is really a key part of, and it's just impressive, and I couldn't be more proud of them. And I'm very proud of the fact that when I got here 16 years ago as a high school principal, and I found out what our student services team was comprised of, I was like, wow, we've got a lot of, this is good. Like, there's a lot of resources. Our board and our community is committed to the value of that, you know, specialized and social emotional and additional resources. They've been committed to that for years, and we've kept that. And our current board is just as committed. They just spent a significant amount of time just learning and talking about our student services. So knowing that that's part of kind of that nest egg or foundation of who we are, making sure we're providing that, I think is really important. And I could just keep rambling. But the other thing that I want to say with it is, and it's really important for people to understand this, when we're talking about that other part of the child, like people think about the pure academic part, and then they think about the other pieces, you know, might be thinking about social and emotional well-being and other things. They aren't separate. They absolutely go hand in hand. And the reason why we have student services, the reason why we have specialized supports for students who have unique and special needs, the reason why we have social workers are working hard to make sure there aren't food insecurity issues and making sure that people have the right clothes to wear, the reason why we're liaising with other resources to help students be able to be better mentally and more sound to as students and as human beings, is because at the end of the day, all those things help students grow and achieve academically more. That's our core foundation. But they work together, right?
I was just going to say, it seems to me, the whole purpose behind student services and these specialized services is really, we want to get our students in the best, as ready as possible, in the best place possible to really get as much out of that education as possible, because the education is the core.
Absolutely. That's what it's about. We care about the whole child, and we invest in the whole child because we know if the whole child is vulnerable, or there's vulnerable components, that academically that student's going to struggle. And if we're not able to help them close that gap when they leave us, they're not going to have as many doors to open for themselves in the future. So that's why we're so committed to it. That's why we're so passionate about it. A couple things that I just wanted to mention too is, there's some unique specialized things that the times have just called on us and called on schools to do things more and differently than we've done in the past. Funding hasn't necessarily matched those needs, but we do them, and we all do them because it's what the need is. And one example is coordinating and navigating some transportation demands for students that are considered homeless. And when we talk about homelessness too, by definition, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're like living in under
Yeah,
a
under a
tent
bridge
or under a bridge. You could be doubled up. Basically, you don't have a stable
Yeah.
home that you can call your own apartment or otherwise. That you're, you know, I've fallen on hard times. For example, you've taken me in for a few weeks. Well, that's not like a state. That's great.
Yeah.
That's generous. That's wonderful.
Couch surfing, essentially.
Right.
is probably
Essentially.
C.
Yeah. So we then are responsible for making sure that I can still get to school even though I'm not with you, because you might be in this example, you might be in Fond du Lac.
Sure.
And we just had this connection.
Yep.
But I'm a junior at Beaver Dam High School. It doesn't make sense during this time of instability that all of a sudden I just change high school for what, a month, 3
Right.
weeks, and then change somewhere else. And so it's like, well, what's the best thing for the student academically is to stay in that school. So then we coordinate and we provide that transportation. So we're going to come and they're going to come pick me up at your place in Fondy and bring me to Beaver Dam High School. So those are different things that our student services team helps, navigate. The other thing that's big has to do with threat assessments. Safety's on the top of mind for many people anytime they're talking about schools. And it should be. We're talking about children, and we're talking about an area that should be essentially a sanctuary of learning. We shouldn't have to deal with some of the things that we do, but we do. So now systems have different obligations as it comes to assessing threats, and that means then if things are said or done, all schools have a system that they work through to ferret out whether that is a legitimate threat or a high-level threat or something that needs to be navigated one way versus another. And not that schools didn't necessarily take those seriously before, but I think there was generally, back in the day, there was a two-bucket approach. Okay, we heard this happened, or so-and-so said or did this, so it's either legit or it's not legit, right?
Yeah.
And it was up to the discretion of maybe one or two people to make that call. There's vulnerability in that.
Yep.
And so now the new systems require, and this is through the Department of Justice and the Office of School Safety, and we have multiple people trained at every building to go through a really deliberate assessment and system and make sure that we're like uncovering, every rock, turning over every rock, and really looking at those pieces to understand, like, what is this? Because even if it's not like a legit threat that we need to, not like DEFCON 1 or 2, right? There's something else going on that we need to address. So now, even if we're not looking at expelling a student, maybe the student needs other supports, and maybe those supports aren't available at home, or maybe sometimes through this process we uncover that there's something going on at the home that's creating significant stress and vulnerability in the child's life, and they're lashing out by saying things that are inappropriate. Maybe a parent just left. Maybe another parent, became incarcerated. Maybe there's some abuse or something going on. So it's really a thorough process. It's valuable. We're committed to that. We do that. But it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of resources, because it's 2 or 3 student services staff, it's an administrator, it's a school resource officer, all spending time on those. So I'm proud of the work that we do with it. I'm proud to know that all of our school districts, I think, in the region are doing their best with it. But it's a significant demand, and it takes a lot of time. So it's something, again, that when we were in school, that wasn't, not that you wouldn't assess a situation.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is, from the time you and I were in school to now, it seems like that threat assessment and security issue has gone from being more of a reactive thing to more of a proactive thing.
Yeah, there's definitely a component to that. I think especially like post that, making sure we're putting other things in place to help mitigate a future issue, But if somebody says something silly on a playground, not even something that, I don't want to even say it, but somebody says something silly on a playground, but it has to do with hurting somebody, we're going to take that
Yeah, we
and,
still
and
gotta
work through
deal
the
with
threat
that.
assessment
Yeah.
process. And some of those get triaged out a little bit more than others. But we're also going to work to help make sure that those things don't happen again. Because the other reality is, it's not just about harm; it's about disruption. And again, kind of going back to there's supposed to be and there has to be a sanctity that's held when it comes to schools. And if goofy stuff's going on, that takes away from that. That can be disruptive. That creates stress in other kids and things like that. So really proud of the work that we're doing. Fully support the expectations that the Department of Justice has relative to that process. Super supportive, and feel very fortunate to have the partnership that we do with our school resource officers and the police department. That also kind of falls under that student services piece because school resource officers aren't about writing tickets, although they do if somebody's very naughty, right? There's going to be a consequence. They're really liaisons, resources, almost like social workers with another level of authority. And they can be a really key partner working with our more traditional student services team members and helping students access resources. So it's been a great partnership. I feel really good about that.
And we're up against the clock, but just any final thoughts before we get you out of here today?
Oh my, what's the time?
I know we got like a minute.
We've got a minute. Well,
I know.
I just, a tip of the hat again to all of our student services team members and the work that they do. They've got a lot of specialized training. The work that they do too isn't like, it's not check in, check out. They're not working 8 to 4, 9 to 5. They carry a lot of that home because they're dealing with a lot of challenging issues. So just couldn't be more proud of them. Last reminder for folks, well, 2 things, but one reminder is anything associated with our facility projects is updated on the website every month. We do a monthly update on all the stuff that we're doing. If you ever have a question, you can check that out on the website, or you can call. And please do, if you have a question about something, please reach out to us. We want to make sure that you're well informed, and we're committing to that by doing what we do. But sometimes people have other questions, and it's better to get it right from the horse's mouth. And the other thing, again, make sure you're doing what you can to celebrate our community and our schools. There's always going to be something going on in our community that's going to create tension, or there's always going to be something that we as a community can do better. But I don't want us as citizens in this awesome place that we call home to fall into, just focusing on what's not right or what could be better. We also need to celebrate what is right. So, you got a great light show at Swan Park going on right now. We've got all these community events, just had a wonderful fall fest. We've got a lot of great things going on, great schools, great people. So make sure you spend time celebrating that too.
Absolutely. Mark, always a pleasure catching up with you. Have a great Thanksgiving break. And next time we chat with you, we'll be getting ready for Christmas.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cale. Did a great job.
You bet. That is Mark DeStefano, Superintendent with Beaver Dam Unified School District. The preceding was a paid presentation of Beaver Dam Unified School District. The views and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of Good Comer Brands, its management, or its employees.